Hey, what's up again? Jason Smith, Realty F. We got a great presentation today, something that I'm passionate about, and that is how to create a massive brand, create mind share, be selectable, and be the guy that puts this flag in the sand and dominates the market. And this is something that these are basically just strategies, very fundamental strategies that I use to build our team up in Northern New York to make it to what it was, the number one team in the marketplace. And I want to share with you some of those nuggets today. And hopefully you can find value in here today. And if there's anything after the show you have questions on, we can discuss that too. So just want to get digging in here. So one thing about Realty AF, obviously, if you don't know what it means, most of you probably do. Realty AF. Basically, I've had many coaches in my day and have had some great coaches and had some not so great coaches. And quite frankly, there's been a lot of people that have kind of taken my money, kind of maybe haven't overly been genuine in the teaching and the coachings that they've offered. And I've certainly gone through identity changes in my career and profession. And as I've evolved to now being a coach, something that's important to me is simply being real. Realty AF is all about being real, raw, and we're going to tell the truth, and we're going to kind of keep it real. So we're going to dig into this stuff here just a second. I got to change some settings so people that are chiming in can make comments here on Facebook. So, all right, we got that wrong. All right, so something that was shared with me with my actual life coach, somebody that's dear to me, she's been very influential to myself, my wife. It just takes one coach. The main problem is people keep hiring trainers or system pushers. Coaching is in depth and personal. If they do not know your pain points or your children's names, they are trainer and system pusher. Stop handing money to a system that isn't tailored specifically to all of your needs. Really what resonates with me on that is, just as I said, like there's just plenty of shiny objects out there, all these blueprints on how to sell houses and all these things. And like, I have like a joke. My wife and I were driving down the road and I said, hey, if we went to Home Depot right now and I bought you a blueprint how to build a house, you think you can build a house? She's like, fuck no. And I said, exactly. So, it's like, mama's favorite spaghetti sauce recipe. She could give you that recipe, but it's not going to be as good as hers. Just isn't. Perhaps over time, as she guides you, hey, you measure this, and yeah, this heat needs to be like this. Maybe you can make that spaghetti sauce as good as mom. So we're gonna dig in and give a lot of free value today. And obviously, if there's value to be given or value that you guys want from this after this, certainly reach out. So creating mind share. So that's my definition of branding. So a massive brand is when somebody is thinking about, in this case, real estate, am I top of mind? Am I one of three selectable people that come to mind when real estate is mentioned? And in our marketplace, I can proudly say that if you mention real estate, my name was mentioned. 99.99% of the time, I was one of the three realtors that were mentioned, whether it's social media, word of mouth, whatever. And that is something that everybody obviously wants to aim for. Lots of community pages in your marketplaces. There's certainly other realtors are being mentioned. Are you one of those realtors? If not, you have work to do. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. It's how to be selectable, of course, as I said, the fundamentals, the basics of how to accomplish that, the proper mindset, and the rule of 100, something that I didn't realize at the time, but were all things that I implemented in my business from day one, really. Most importantly, be yourself. You see me, I have a trucker hat on and a t-shirt. You'll see me like this almost every day. I'll rarely put a suit on. Mind you, I've worn many of them. I am who I am. I'm barely clean shaved. My value speaks for itself. I'm not going to mold myself in to what somebody else wants, nor should you. And it's so easy to want to be like the next guy, the next person, next gal, because that's what they're doing. So that's what I want to do. No, be your goddamn self. People don't give a shit about that stuff. People want to work with people they like. People want to relate with people. And our marketplace was very blue collar. If I showed up in a suit and tie, they'd kick my ass out of there. You have to be somebody people want to work with. And if you're not genuine to who you are, now mind you, if you're a guy that's always worn a suit and decked up, then that's who you are. And that's the audience you have. And that's the demo that most likely is going to be attracted to you. So, but most importantly, just be your damn self. All right. So you got two pictures here. Obviously, this is a live feed. You're not going to be able to interact with me, but obviously there's two images, very, very prominent men. I imagine most of you recognize one of them being George Washington and the other one being whomever, right? Both very, very prominent people. What's synonymous with both of them is they're both U.S. presidents. However, guess what? You recognize one and you most likely don't recognize the other. This gentleman is William Henry Harrison. I'll spare you the details, but he was the 9th president of the United States. And again, very prominent person. So what does this mean? Why am I comparing presidents? So just like me as a realtor, if I'm William Henry Harrison and the other guy is another perhaps president, and maybe one of them is a George Washington, who is selectable? Both very prominent people. All realtors give value, but what are you doing to be known as a George Washington? George Washington to this day is one of the most branded people still to this day, and he's been obviously deceased for many, many years. Our first president of the United States. He's on every single dollar bill. He's on pennies on the a penny, $2 bill. No, I'm wrong on that. Dollar coin, $2 bill. Obviously, to this day, he's one of the most branded people, right? So the point is, you need to be a George Washington. So early on in my career, one of the first conferences that I ever went to, I used to be a part of Exit Realty, and there was a little, not a mastermind, but like kind of like a panel of experts at the time, the top producers. And there's 3 of them. And one of them had stated, the question was, hey, what strategies could you implement to grow your business? And he had 2 pictures, and he held up the exact pictures I just showed you. And it says, what's the synonymous with these 2 people? One's obviously William Henry Harrison, and one is George Washington. And you need to be a George Washington. So what that means is, are you being selectable? If I were to go into a convenience store right today, obviously, as you see, there's Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar, Coca-Cola has products, Gatorade, there's Bang, there's all kinds of energy drinks. And if you actually were to read the ingredients, they're all the goddamn same. Really, one might have a little bit of caffeine more than the other. Maybe one's got a little bit more sugar, one's sodium, but for the most part, they're all the same. They have different flavors, right? Well, just like you as a realtor, what the hell makes you different between the next person, right? What are you doing to differentiate yourself? So if I were to walk in to a convenience store with a shelf of realtors on it, why would I choose you, right? Why would I choose you? Well, probably out of this image, we would argue that Monster or Red Bull, probably more Red Bull. I think Red Bull actually has the largest brand of energy drinks in the entire globe, basically. So like, what are you doing to be selectable? So again, if I were to walk in any room and there's 10 realtors, why would I choose you over the next person? And even if you had value, how do I know you have value? How would I know or want to choose you? And that's obviously from marketing and branding, correct? So something that's kind of raw. So I made a post a couple of days ago about that. I stated that you don't deserve anything. So it's like, what does that mean? So a lot of people are like, hey, I deserve to be happy. Or, yeah, you deserve to be happy. You deserve that. And the reality is no, you actually don't. What you deserve is a direct correlation of the inputs that you put into every day to get a result, right? That's what you deserve, which means if you're not pushing anything, you're not going to deserve anything. You're not going to get an output, correct? So like, as this market shifted, I want to just be real, you guys. The market is the market. The market is between your ears. The market isn't tough. You're not being tough, right? How can you be tough? The economy isn't tough. You're not. Interest rates aren't tough. You're not. Losing weight and staying healthy isn't tough. You're not. Your family life isn't tough. You're not. Life and all that we encounter isn't tough. We or you are not. So what the hell do I mean by that? Most of us aren't prepared. As the market has shifted over the last 24 months, I used to say that we've all been playing on a 4-foot rim, and now it's 10 foot. And those of us that have adapted and prepared for the rim always to be 10 foot are the ones that are going to be chosen and be selectable. There was a time in the last 24 to 18 months, probably even 12 months, the builders weren't putting signs out anymore. For sale signs weren't even being posted in listings. Everybody was just like, it was just a free for all. Everybody was just an order taker. There was really no value exchanged. Quite frankly, it was easy in a sense. Obviously, it wasn't easy that you had to shuffle a bunch of buyers around, multiple offers, listings were scarce. Not arguing that that part of it wasn't tough. But as far as being creative and doing the things and putting the work in to grow a brand and to grow something that was sustainable, people just weren't doing it. Those of you that did are the ones that are going to be called as the market obviously shifts and has changed. Of course, things have settled down a little bit, but obviously when the interest rates went up, some people just went out of business. Some people just got out of the business and the phone stopped ringing. Well, know why? Because they're the guys that didn't put a goddamn sign on the yard. So this is a quote from Kobe Bryant, obviously somebody I admire, just like a Michael Jordan. If you want to be a better player, you have to prepare, and prepare some more. So naturally, a gentleman like him, how many shots do you think he takes in a game versus in practice, right? It's probably 10 to 1, 20 to 1. You shoot. And then you take however many shots in a game, which means in a pressure situation, if they're in the finals, it's game 6 for the win. You ask Kobe if he's stressed or uncomfortable. No, the answer is not, because he's prepared so much. This is just another shot, just another game. So are you putting the work in to prepare daily to be prepared, to win, basically, right? So
easy route never pays well. The only route in life that pays well is the hard route. The pain, the frustration, and the overcoming of those things. And not only do they pay, they fulfill you as well, because it shows the people around you. It shows your kids. It shows your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your community, what is possible. And there's nobility in that.
So what do I mean by that? Anything worth achieving is going to come with hard work. As I said earlier with my posts about you don't deserve anything. It's a pretty harsh statement, right? Like if you interpret it that way. And just as I said, it's directly correlated with the inputs that you're doing every single day, right? Which leads me to what I call the rule of 100. So in 2014, I was awarded the Rising Star Award with Extra Realty in our northern region. And at the time, I had no idea really what I had or didn't have for value. I had 45 listings, which is unheard of in most markets. As a single agent, not a team, 45 listings as a single agent. And a lot of people would come up to me and be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you must be cheating. You must be doing something illegal or whatever, right? And my answer was, I don't know. I just do the same thing every day. When I mean the same thing, I dressed the same way. I woke up at the same time. I just did the same exact thing every single day, 7 days a week. And what occurred to me as time went on, now that I'm on the side of the fence coaching, what it was what's considered the rule of 100, which the rule of 100 is 100 days with 100 primary daily actions. And if you do that, you're going to succeed, right? So in this case, we offer a 100-day to 100K program. So think about that. So if you were to do content creation, so if you were to make videos, let's just think if you took 100 days and you did for every single day, 100 primary actions, you spend 100 minutes on content creation. If you did 100 minutes of prospecting, you did 100 minutes of cold calling, you did 100 minutes of door knocking, you did 100 minutes of walking your neighborhood, you did 100 minutes networking, you did 100 minutes lunches, you did that every single day for 100 days, do you think you would succeed? Of course you would, right? And really that was what I was doing. I just did the same thing every single day. And here's the thing, like as I developed this coaching platform, I really struggled and I was encouraged to be a coach for a really long time. And I just really I had kind of like one foot in. I'm like, I don't know. The reason why I was so reluctant was it's like I was always searching for this profound thing that I could coach you on or teach you on. And the reality is, guess what? There isn't anything profound. There's nothing that's profound. It's a bunch of basic ass shit, and do it consistently. That's it. Massive action equals massive results. Sure, you can buy Zillow leads, you can do this, you can do that, you can buy all this shiny object stuff, social media ads, Google PPC, all these things. Of course, those are all things that we do too and have done. But none of those things are going to be the magic wand. Not one thing. It's doing basic things monotonously day in and day out. That's it. That's all. Follow the rule of 100. If you do those things, you're going to get the wheel spinning to develop a pipeline to be able to pour more resources into other things and other lead sources and other outlets and create relationships to have a sustainable business. But you got to put the work in first with the basics. A lot of these presentations that I see are all based on all these fancy, shiny things. And I'm not saying there's no value in any of those things, but nobody's talking about the basics. If you ask any successful entrepreneur, they're going to tell you the difference between a successful person at a high level and not is they never stop doing the basics. It just never stops. You just continue to do it day in and day out. So obviously, what are some things? What are some basic things? Obviously, branding, open houses. How many people are doing open houses every single weekend? Think about it. Most open houses are 11 to 1, 1 to 3. You could do 2 a day. You could do a Saturday, you could do a Sunday, you could do it during a week. Think about if you were to do that day or consistently weekly. Do you think you'd be able to get any traction? If you had no money at all, you could buy 20 signs with your face on them in your marketplace, and you did that many open houses. Do you think there's any value in that? You think you could put the flag in the sand in that little marketplace to get any business? Of course you could. How many people are doing that? How many people are even putting their face on their signs? How many people have any branding standards at all? I could drive around right now, and it enrages me. In fact, I almost want to drive over his signs. You see signs that come from Lowe's that are handwritten open houses, or they're just generally branded. They have no name, no nothing at all. There's no consistency with a color to their brand. Like in my case, I have teal signs. Are you doing those things? Or are you using the company's general stuff? If you are, how, back to the selectable thing, if I'm in the convenience store and you got a Monster Energy sign out, how am I going to know who you are? I'm not, right? So what are you doing to be different? So again, obviously, as I said earlier, prospecting. So whether that's going to networking events, cold calling, whatever it may be, following up your leads, follow up Friday, whatever. How many people are actually consistently doing that? How many people are spending 100 minutes a day on those things? Farming, geographical farming. How many people are sending direct mail out? People think mail is obsolete. I got news for you. The old school is the new school. People are so inundated these days by all these automations and texting. There's been a saying like dials are dead. Like people aren't answering their phone anymore. They're texting now. Well, quite frankly, I think that's BS. Yeah, you might get them on the phone with a text, but it's pretty obvious if you're getting automations. I get inundated with that stuff all the time. And now phones are starting to spam those texts, right? So the angle is somehow trying to humanize yourself, but yet still be efficient to be able to get somebody on the phone. And people want to have real, genuine conversations. I think that's more relevant in today's market than ever before. I think anything that is old school is more relevant now than ever before. And direct mail is one of those things. Farming. Are you farming consistently? So what do I mean by consistently? So it goes back to the rule of 100. You can't expect to, hey, I'm going to buy 1,000 mailers and I'm going to send them for the next 30 days. That's marketing. That's not branding. There's a far different thing. You have to be consistent. So you got to implement that rule of 100 and do something. And it has to be manageable and sustainable. If you can't do it for 6 months or even a year, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're not going to get your message across, right? But that is certainly a strategy. Obviously, social media. So as I said earlier, there's a lot of stuff on social media. There's tons of TikToks. There's tons of reels, things like that. And there's zero call to action. There's zero humanization. It's, I'm an ethical realtor, and if you want to buy and sell, call me. As soon as you said that, I scrolled already. What are you doing to get my attention? Right? Why are we going on social media? Why? Entertainment, correct? So if I'm on social media and Aunt Susie just posted that her niece is just born and that's on her news feed, and you got some crappy video that I just explained, do you think you're going to be seen or chosen? Or if it's, hey, just listed? No, you're not. But what if you were funny? What if you had some creative hook? What if you were real and maybe made fun of yourself or had a, I don't know, joke of some sort? I have a saying, and it comes from Billy Jean. If you're not familiar with him, he's a great, we've got to follow Billy Jean is marketing. If your business is boring, you're going to go out of business. Think about that. So it goes back to the selectability. If I post a picture of my children versus any marketing thing, anything that has to do with real estate, my children are going to win the like war all day, right? So what are you doing with your content every day to be chosen? So obviously you can push things through, you can boost things, you can do paid ads. But obviously there's plenty of people out there that are getting traffic with organic efforts, and they're realizing that, I mean, you could sit like for a video, for example, like we're down in Sarasota, there's a gentleman that I know, Dan McKinnon, I'll just name him. And he does a phenomenal job. And all he does is basically curates Siesta Key in Sarasota and the beach and the sun and just a great place to live. That's it. And it just gets massive traction. You know why? Because people want to see sunsets, beaches, and palm trees. It's that simple, right? You don't have to overthink this, right? If you're on the sidelines with social media and you're not really somebody that likes to present themselves and put their face on camera, I got news for you. For one, you had better figure it out. You better get comfortable with it. But think, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, don't allow your vulnerability to cause you to have inaction. Like 10 sixes is better than 110, if that makes sense. And, I used to feel that way. Everything has to have a corporate polished look and all that. And some of my worst, in my mind, posts that are to get the most action. You know why? Because it's real and relatable. So, just keep that in mind. Obviously another thing, follow-up. So like, for one, you got to generate leads, right? So the 3 L's: lead generation, lead follow-up, lead conversion. So, and I can tell you right now, you're not going to convert if you don't follow up. So obviously these are all just basic things that you could be doing day in and day out to be able to, build some traction in your business. So these are some things that, that I was proud of that we did in our marketplace when I was a part of Exit. So, and just some accolades. So like this image on the left, that is what I looked like every day. I was known for the guy with a white watch. I literally had, I don't know how many of those shirts. And that's just what I wore every day, whether I had a name tag or not, but I literally wore that every single day. So if you saw me in public, you recognize me from my signs. My signs look the same for the most part. Obviously you see the image, with full size signs. So that was something that we did. Just unique things. You can't tell by the picture, but I'm 6'7". So obviously there's a joke with I stand above the crowd, but of course vehicles being wrapped, obviously name, those things are great conversation starters. Pull up into a gas station, hey, you sell houses? Well, yeah, things of that nature. Another image, just, I was #1 realtor at X Realty for listings taken, GCI, and units sold for several years at that time. So those are my accolades there, just an image of making some content. And then of course, a directional sign. Now at the time, I didn't have all the fancy stuff like I do today per se, but part of Exit Realty. So I think I got the signs from Oakley Signs at the time. And, but I made sure my phone number and name were on them. And that was this directional sign that I used to put them everywhere. And I would get multiple calls just for my directional signs. So utilizing the rule of 100. So, another example of just a ton of signs that we had ordered, again, with my face on them. I was huge on signs. Another sign with reflective imagery. So like for us in Northern New York, it gets freaking dark at like 5 o'clock. That's when everybody's getting out of work in the wintertime. So I'm like, well, how anybody can see my signs? I want them to see them max amount of exposure through the day. So this was just a directional sign. This wasn't even a main yard sign. And I don't think we did on this one, but we used to put solar lights in front of the sign so people could see them 24/7 essentially. So Just some examples of some of the direct mail that we used to do. We used to co-market with a winery to offset the cost, but I don't know, there was probably 5,000 mailers that we used to send out at the time. Just some more images of open house signs and stuff like that. It doesn't get the whole clear view, but back to the rule of 100, massive amount of signs. Like every single corridor into a property, I want a sign. I want my face on them. Or at least identifiable branding, and I want every corner basically being chosen. So kind of back to the rule of 100 thing. If I were to have a listing, let's just say a listing was, I don't know, obviously it's difficult to articulate this on a webinar, but let's just say John has a listing up the street and he works a couple miles around the corner and he has to go by, I don't know, 4 intersections. And I have a directional sign at each intersection, right? And let's just say he works at a car dealership. So he leaves in the morning, he comes back for lunch, he leaves again back to work, and then back again. So he leaves in the morning, so that's 1. He comes back to lunch, that's 2. He goes back to work, that's 3, and then he comes home 4. So plus he saw a yard sign and 4 directional signs. How many times did he see my signs that day? Saw 20 signs effectively. So psychologically, I can make one listing reflectively see, like you can see 20 signs from one listing, right? That's the power of signage and marketing and branding. And nobody uses signs down here. So it's ridiculous. So I understand HOAs and things like that, there's regs on that stuff, but nobody's leveraging visible things, old school things. People that are just totally looking at social media and all that. And it's like at the end of the day, like depending on where marketed in, people are coming to an area, they don't know who the hell you are. They don't know what community pages you are. They don't know, they don't follow you. They come in, they see your signs. I can't tell you how many times I've sold houses from my directional signs because I've had so many from people navigating the area. Our marketplace was a military installation, so people would come in the area and navigate around looking for houses. And they would call me on my directional signs. It's pretty wild, huh? So use basic stuff and just consistently use them. Going back. So this, and it shows in the next slide, but so this was a restaurant. Now, again, hard to articulate on a webinar, but this particular place was a restaurant, a very, very high touristy area in Alexander Bay called in the Thousand Islands region. So tons and tons of foot traffic. So I'm like, I'm going to put this full size sign, like a billboard in front of the house. And mind you, we were able to do that stuff. And, I understand there are certain regulations in different areas. This particular area, we were allowed to do that. And I can't tell you how much business I got on those signs. We eventually sold the property and we had one on each side of the property. And I would put these on all of my commercial listings. And then listings that may struggle to sell, I wanted to use them obviously to leverage marketing and branding for our company. So I think it's on the next page, just some examples and stuff that we did. This was a backdrop that we had for a baseball team. And these are some examples of some expired listings with some data on them. Another commercial building that was honestly kind of a tear down, but we were able to put signs on it for people to, it was a main corridor, so people drove by that quite a bit and saw them, of course. So, in summary of today, so like, again, you haven't heard anything profound today. There's no shiny object. We're talking signs. We're talking massive action, whatever it may be, whether it's content creation, prospecting, cold calls, knocking on doors, whatever it may be. Networking with people or choosing X amount of people that whatever it may be. But whatever it may be, you got to start today. Time is our only asset that we do not get any more of. Every day that you wait is every day that you're just not doing it. Every day you wait to do social media is another day that you have not started creating any content. Every day that you don't turn on some leads that you may be purchasing is another day that you may not be getting a return on investment. You have to start today. Be a George Washington. So as I stated, you have to be selectable. You have to do something and create so much action and put so much effort into creating mind share to where when people are thinking of you or thinking of real estate, they're thinking of you. But how do you do that? How are you doing that? And obviously I showed you before through massive action with signage, direct mail, expired listings, social media, whatever. And everything has to be clear and concise and cohesive with clear branding standards, clear call to actions, things of that nature. Obviously, I should edit this out, but this is an example. If you're part of LPT Realty, which was what this presentation was originally for, leverage all the tools that LPT Realty. I guess I'll give a plug to LPT Realty real quick. A lot of tools LPT has as far as free stuff to be able to leverage as a realtor. We can talk about that another time, but great stuff. As I stated earlier, the old school is the new school. So I want to tell you a silly story. So we were leaving, it was a few months ago, we were leaving a SeaWorld. And there was actually like a ludicrous concert there, oddly enough. And so the overflow parking, we were in the overflow parking. And as you can imagine, anytime you leave any event, there's all kinds of traffic, right? And everybody typically flows the same way. So like, it's like herding cattle, like everybody's just going to follow the leader, right? So me being me, I saw the entrance was not too far away from where I was about to follow the rest of the traffic. And I knew around the corner was the main road to be able to get out of there, basically. So I was about to turn and follow traffic, and I quickly U-turned it, and I went out the entrance, whether I should or not, and I got out of there. Guess what happened as soon as I did that? I looked in my rearview mirror, and everybody followed me. So when somebody is going right, a lot of times I want to go left. So when people are doing, like the big craze right now is ChatGPT and this and that, and all those things are great. I'm not knocking any of that stuff, but not at the expense of the fundamentals, and not at the expense of the basics, right? You got to be doing those things first. If you don't have a sustainable business, a lot of these shiny object things aren't relevant. If you do not have a fire already created in your business, there's no sense of taking gas and putting it on it. You don't have a fire yet. You need to create the fire, and you need to do that with the damn fundamentals to create a foundation, right? So if you're thinking of trying to have strategies in place that don't cost a fortune, there's plenty of old school things. So like direct mail is a big thing. Sending, calling expireds. Obviously that has changed through the market time, but right now there's a lot of expireds. So different examples of that. So if you do some of this effort and progress into things, what it turned out to us is we eventually became the number one team in the marketplace. We were endorsed by Barbara Corcoran through a company called Radio and Television Experts. A couple of pictures of her. I think there was a picture at the zoo there with my children. We had an event there, a community event there. We used to do quite a bit of that stuff. Image of my son Maverick and I doing a radio spot. Actually, a commercial that we made was really cool. We used to also be endorsed by the local radio DJs at Frog 97 and Z93, and they were the voice for us. They were our cheerleaders, so we were able to leverage our local radio stations, television, so on and so forth, and eventually, really dominate the airwaves of, at the time, the Jason Smith team, Jason Smith Real Estate. Some more stuff. Obviously, we also implemented billboards. We had our call to action was your home sold guaranteed. We had multiple billboards across the county. And another example of our direct mail that I spoke of with clear call to actions. You have to have a clear call to action. You can't just send, hey, to buy or sell, call, whatever. Nobody's going to call you on that. You have to have a clear call to action. We use your home sold guaranteed, of course, as the market was really strong. Probably not as strong a message. There's people that have changed that, but there's certainly other ones. I know a colleague of mine uses, hey, we'll stage your house for free. Obviously see the direct mail. If my team can't sell your home, we'll buy it. All great call to actions. So you have to have a clear, strong call to action, something that you can back up, something that you can get behind. I think the image at the bottom right is just me with a branded coffee cup. So, that was how serious we were about our brand. If you came into our office, our coffee cup sleeves were branded. So, and in the background, that was our main sign. Smith, our being a blue collar based family, it was a big metal thing. It was pretty cool, kind of like a blacksmithy fabricated looking sign. It was pretty neat. In which you could see on the mailer actually. Just more images. That was just a spot from one of our TV spots that we did with Barbara Corcoran. I think it was a wedding event that we did. Lots of the community events that we did. The bottom left was me featured on a sign during COVID talking about the changing market at the time in New York State, being one of the top realtors in the area. The bottom right was another community event we did. We used to do a big thing, Pie Days, that we really enjoyed doing around Thanksgiving time. So again, a lot of community events, very important to be tapped in to build credibility and humanize yourself within the community. And as I stated earlier, if your business is boring, you're going to go out of business. So, one of the things that we did, and a lot of these things are just mind share things. You're not necessarily going to get business out of these things, but what they're doing is creating a buzz and be identifiable. So, one of them is like a Mission Impossible thing. The top right, obviously I'm looking like Forrest Gump. Bottom left, looking like Harrison Ford with, at Star Wars. Another one, Forrest Gump. I'm pretty tired. I think I'll sell some houses. Obviously, Zillow always gets blasted on their pricing. So we're able to take some real estate stuff and just humanize it and make it funny. And what would happen is people would say, "Hey, Jews, I love your memes," and people would start looking forward to them. So that's just a mind share thing and having some consistency with it. So again, like, not only should you be making sure you're consistently, whatever it be, again, in this case, social media, you can't just be consistently posting things. You have to have good content. So in this case, we're trying to be funny. If you're not funny, don't try to be funny. But if you're funny, if you have humor, leverage it. Like my wife and I banter back and forth, and like people love seeing that. Like, we'll banter back and forth. So those are just things that humanize you and create mind share and keep you at top of mind. Aside from, I just listed 123 Main Street. Just keep those things in mind. You have to have some clear call to actions. You have to be funny. You have to be doing things that are going to make you memorable. The biggest thing, as I stated earlier, is be you. I actually have shirts that are made to say this, be you. Something that was very important to me through my evolution and moving down to Florida. Actually, I lost my identity over time as I chased some of these shiny objects through the marketing efforts and the Barbara Corcorans of the world, and going to Manhattan, shooting videos and all that stuff. I'd get all decked up in a suit and tie and clean shaven, getting spray tans, and because I was so worried how I was going to look on camera. And quite frankly, nobody gives a shit. We're all worried about people's opinions. We're all worried about what people think of us. And it's usually from somebody that has not been in our shoes or is not in our world. And the great Brené Brown, if you're not familiar, one of the best authors, states, if you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I am not interested in your feedback. Meaning, if you're somebody watching today and you're in business and you're trying to grind, you're doing it, guess what? You'd better be next to me grinding like I am. I don't give a shit about what you have to say. And most of the time, the critics are going to be the people not in the trench. So just keep your chin up, keep plugging along, and just be who you are. Keep your identity and brand the shit out of it. So with all that being said, we have a couple products that we're offering, two of which is our Kickstart to 60K. Basically, this program is a 10,000 foot view of the 100 days to 100K. We're going to launch you in the first 60 days to help you create specific call to actions, create specific branding standards for your business, and implement some key features to start implementing the rule of 100 to get you rolling, obviously to make your first six figures. 100 days to 100K is a hell of a lot more strenuous and disciplined. It's going to be a lot more massive action. There's going to be a higher expectations and accountability. And throughout that massive action, if you think you're somebody that has what it takes to earn 100K in 100 days, let me know. If you think you got what it takes, let's see what we can do for you. Of course, typically when you're doing that, you already have some branding standards in place. If not, we're going to help you with all those things. And we're going to help you and hold you to the fire to implement all those things. So if that's something of interest, I invite you to scan our QR code. That's going to load you up to our real estate page, and you can schedule a call to discuss any of your needs. And we welcome anybody, any need you have. So not only are we going to be coaching on real estate, we're going to coach you on mindset. And as you saw earlier, you may or may not saw it, but we had a webinar on how to work with your spouse. So, I mean, there's no limitation on what it is that we're going to offer you. We're going to meet you where you're at, and we're going to coach you from where you were at to where you want to go and achieve your goals. So we want to know your kids' names. We want to know all about you, and we want to help you grow and have purpose in your life. So I appreciate everybody's time today. I was hoping to do this within 45 minutes, and it looks like I blasted through it in 40. So mission accomplished, I guess. So again, if anybody has any interest, you can direct message me. You can scan the QR code and book a call, and we can discuss different options. There's unlimited customization. Aside from the 2 products that we offer, we also offer a lead generation class to help you understand how to follow up appropriately, get your CRM and systems in place as well. So again, I appreciate your time today and look forward to hearing from you soon. All right, guys, take it easy.